Neighboring lands in Aden after visiting Sana'a, and Tim King heads to Riyadh and Muscat to push for new peace in Yemen. On World Press Freedom Day, Yemeni journalists continue to face grave human rights violations, especially in Houthi-run areas. Youth Initiative in Aden cleans the beaches of the interim capital from waste after the Eid holiday. Welcome to Yemen Today TV. This is the English news with me, Roshan Fuad. The UN envoy to Yemen, Hans Grunberg, has landed in Aden after a two-day visit in Sana'a, while Tim King, the U.S. envoy, is visiting Riyadh and Muscat currently. This intense international diplomacy aims to urge Yemen's warring parties to agree on new peace deal. This report has more details.
A new round of United Nations and United States talks on the Yemeni crisis was initiated to discuss a new ceasefire agreement. The United Nations envoy to Yemen, Hans Grunberg, concluded a round of talks with the Houthis in Sana'a on a new ceasefire agreement in preparation for the resumption of the stalled peace negotiations in Yemen. Upon his departure from Sana'a to Iran, the United Nations mediator said he had positive meetings with the Houthis in Sana'a. He stressed that his discussions with the Houthi leaders were frank, detailed and constructive on how to move forward. He emphasized that any agreement must be based on providing tangible benefits to all Yemenis, stressing the need to end violence in a sustainable manner through agreeing on a ceasefire and to ensure the safety and security of the Yemeni people. Grunberg explained that any new agreement must also guarantee an increase in the number of destinations and flights to and from Sana'a International Airport. It should also ensure the smooth and unhindered opening of Hodeida's ports and the resumption of the country's oil exports. This is in addition to the need to open the main routes in Taiz and other governorates and to pay the salaries of public sector employees in a regular, transparent and sustainable manner throughout the country. Grunberg said it also necessary for the agreement to include measures to make preparations for a complete and a comprehensive political process, one that Yemenis will take over and that will be under the auspices of the United Nations. Meanwhile, the U.S. State Department announced that its special envoy to Yemen, Tim King, has begun a visit to Oman and Saudi Arabia. The State Department said King would meet with officials from Yemen, Oman, Saudi Arabia, and other international partners to secure a new agreement in Yemen and to launch a comprehensive peace process. It added that the U.S. is working closely with the United Nations, Saudi Arabia, Oman, and other partners to build on the truce to support an inclusive Yemeni-led political process that allows Yemenis to shape a brighter future for their country.
The Arab Parliament reaffirmed full support for the Republic of Yemen and its legitimate institutions under the leadership of the Presidential Leadership Council. Members of the Parliament appreciated the regional and international efforts to reach a comprehensive political agreement and called on the Houthi militia to engage constructively in the political dialogue. The Parliament expressed sincere condolences for the victims of the tragic stampede that took place in Sana'a and led to the death of 100 people. The Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi received today in Cairo General Mohsen el-Dari, Yemeni Defense Minister. El-Sisi affirmed Egypt's full support for Yemen at reaching a political solution to the crisis in a way that achieves the interests of the fraternal Yemeni people at various levels. The Yemeni Minister of Defense expressed hopes to strengthen the joint bilateral cooperation with Egypt. About 200 Houthi fighters fell in battles against government forces during the first third of this year. The total number of Houthi fighters who fell in battles with government forces amounted to 186 fighters, and their bodies were buried in the capital Sana'a and the number of governorates under its control. The Houthi militia launched a new military campaign with the aim of seizing an area of land in Bani Matar district, west of the capital Sana'a. Tribal sources said that the robbery comes as a resumption of armed campaign of vast agricultural lands in the district during the past months.
Yemen, the worst famine the world has seen in 100 years. Right now, over 8 million people are facing starvation. Since the beginning of the war, 85,000 children have died due to the lack of food. We cannot allow this to continue. The Yemeni people can't wait.
On World Press Freedom Day, which falls on May 3 of each year, Yemeni journalists continue to face restrictions and grave human rights abuses, especially in healthy-controlled areas. The following report has more details.
On World Press Freedom Day, Yemeni writers, intellectuals, and journalists recall the history of the Yemeni press and the reality of freedoms that come with the dawn of the press since the 50s of the late century, as the press did not witness any outlet for freedoms except with the arrival of President Ali Abdullah Saleh to power in the year 1978. Newspapers such as Al-Amal and As-Sahwa had been expressing freedom of speech, and that continued as an outlet for freedom of press and the Yemeni media for 3 decades, until it turned to worse than it was in the 50s, after the events of February 11, when the Houthis stormed the capital Sana'a.
In the era of Ali Abdullah Saleh, journalists practiced their jobs freely. Now we have no freedom of expression. Journalists are arrested and killed. They get no salaries and have no freedom. Since 2011, journalists have had no rights.
Since the militia took control of the capital Sana'a, it has launched campaigns of arrests against all journalists, closed and confiscated dozens of media institutions, and many of the journalists have been killed, arrested, forcibly disappeared, and tortured in all its forms for years.
We live in a painful reality. Houthis arrest journalists and tortured them. 4 journalists a week ago came out of prison. They were extremely sick.
As a result of years of war, journalists in Yemen were subjected to campaigns of incitement that made them vulnerable to violations. During the first quarter of this year, the Journalist Syndicate monitored 20 cases of violations of media freedoms from January 1 to March 30, 2023, which includes torture, stopping salaries, physical assaults, threats, and confiscations of belongings. On the World Press Freedom Day, Yemen has become one of the worst environments for journalistic work in the region, in the absence of freedom of expression and the exposure of journalists to violations, constant harassment, and not being allowed to practice their activities freely.
In Shabwa, 4 children drowned in Shabwa Governorate as a result of the flow of torrential rains. The source revealed that the drowned included 2 brothers. Large parts of Shabwa Governorate witnessed heavy rains which caused serious damage. Dozens of contracted street cleaners organized a protest denouncing the continued suspension of their salaries. They called on the Presidential Council to consider their demands, provide them permanent jobs, and pay their suspended salaries.
We have organized this protest to call upon the PLC head to respond to our demands. We call upon the council to pay the suspended salaries and to provide permanent jobs on those who serve the city through contracts for years. Permanent jobs were delivered unequally for a number of people while they were in their homes.
We call on authorities to pay our suspended salaries since 2014. We do not know why they are suspending our salaries despite the inflow of the proceeds. All employees in other governments are receiving the salaries except for tithes.
In Aden, a youth initiative was launched to clean the shore of the city from wastes. This followed Eid, in which thousands of visitors were there to spend Eid holiday. The following report has more details.
Even after the Eid holiday has passed, Aden City and its coastal lines continue to moan beneath the weight of the trash that only these young guys noticed in order to preserve what might be spared. Therefore, a cleanup campaign for the coast of Goldmoor in At-Tawahi district was launched. According to officials, a youth initiative that was similar to an epic aimed to beautify Aden's beaches, aid in the job of cleaners, and inform the public about the value of protecting the environment.
We are glad with this initiative and we hope it will be a message to everyone who loves to keep Aden clean, because cleanliness will not be preserved if it is not everyone's responsibility. This is a devoted act and it is attributed to them. And one day they will watch this video and remember what they did when they were young. This is a great initiative as they are cleaning up the waste of Eid visitors to the Goldmoor beach, and we thank them very much.
The initiative planted a seed that could eventually lower harmful behaviors towards public spaces, enlisting the help of the public and striving to improve the maritime environment.
We are a group of young people from Aden and decided to launch an initiative that is called Our Aid is the Cleanliness of Our Capital City. There is a turnout of young people to support the cleaners, because Aden recently witnessed many visitors. When the initiative was launched on social media, Mr. Saleh Al-Aqil, the Undersecretary of Aden Governorate, contacted Mr. Qaid Rashid, who attended today with us along with his staff.
Today we came to clean Aden. Of course, because of the crowding on the beach that happened during Eid, people left a lot of waste. Mr. Osama Al-Tahtuh initiated to clean the beaches and help the cleaners, as well as to enlighten people about the importance of maintaining the cleanness of beaches and throwing garbage in its designated place.
The initiative seeks to conserve the beauty of natural areas and increase public awareness of the value of protecting the environment from harmful human behavior, as man is often accused of being the enemy of his environment.
Coming next. Yemeni food restaurant finds way on a resort island in South Korea. Welcome back. In South Korea, a Yemeni community initiative, with the help of a South Korean young lady, opened restaurant to serve the Yemeni dishes. More on this is in the following report.
A Korean resort island may seem an unlikely destination for people seeking retreat from what at that point had been a 9-year-long war in Yemen, and for many, it was not their first choice. Many Yemenis had originally thought of Malaysia as a Muslim majority like their homeland, and one of the few nations on earth offering them visa-free entry. But they were granted only a very temporary stay, and were soon forced to find a new destination. Korea is a 6-hour flight from Malaysia, so a Korean citizen who is interested in the Yemeni culture opened Warda restaurant there. And word quickly spread through Facebook and other channels of potential, and by August 2018, 600 Yemenis had arrived in Korea. Yemenis on the island now number around 1,000, according to official estimates. Classic Yemeni fare including fragrant rice and meat dishes like kabsa and mandi are on offer there, as are more pan-Arab falafel, hummus and fasulya. Sourcing halal produces no mean feat on a Korean island renowned for its rearing of black pigs. So Warda gets its chicken from a mixture of mainland Korea and Brazil, and its lamb from Australia. The restaurant also caters to a growing number of vegan customers, using mushrooms as a substitute for meat in plant-based versions of Yemeni classics. As-Salam restaurant is the second Yemeni restaurant in South Korea, where tables are full, Conversation is loud, and a three-legged dog adopted by the owner darts through the expansive restaurant and out the door. As-Salam is an unmistakably Muslim space. As you enter, signs point to prayer rooms and a space for reciting Quran. And a large framed halal certification sign sets pride of place on the counter. Korean customers are also particular fans of mandi, as the owner of Warda mentioned. She added that among her more frequent guests are Korean celebrity singers and actors who love hummus and kapsa the most.
The U.S. Navy said Iran seized a Panamanian-lagged oil tanker in the Strait of Hormuz on Wednesday. The U.S. Navy's Fifth Fleet, based in the Middle East, said in a statement that the Iranian Revolutionary Guard seized the tanker on April 27. The U.S. Navy said Iran had seized an oil tanker flying the flag of the Marshall Islands in the Gulf of Oman amid escalating tensions over Tehran's nuclear program. The Houthi militia sought to impose illegal taxes on merchants and commercial establishments in the governorates under its control. Sources indicated that the Houthi militia forced merchants to pay large financial royalties in exchange for continuing their activities or closing down. Official statistics revealed that more than 80% of the population in Yemen falls below the poverty line, amid a noticeable increase in the unemployment rate to more than 60%. During a meeting with a delegation of the European Commission, the Minister of Social Affairs and Labour said that the situation in Yemen requires the international community to support the government in addressing deteriorating economic reality. He stressed the importance of donor countries and UN and international organizations continuing to implement sustainable development projects in the education, health, water, electricity, and other sectors. The second component of a project to use renewable energy was inaugurated in the city of Mukalla in Hadramaut Governorate. The component includes the provision of 35 agricultural irrigation systems powered by solar energy in 3 Yemeni governorates. More on this is in the following report.
The second phase of a project to use renewable energy to improve the quality of life in Yemen was launched in the governorates of Hadramaut, Abiyan, and Lahj, with the aim of implementing 35 solar-powered agricultural irrigation systems. The project is through the Saudi Development and Reconstruction Program for Yemen, the Arab Gulf Program for Development, and the Silla Foundation for Development. The first phase saw the signing of 3 contracts between the advisory body, the executing contractor, and the farmers benefiting from the project in the presence of representatives of Silla Foundation for Development. The second phase of the project aims to rehabilitate agricultural irrigation water wells through solar power systems in the targeted governorates which grow food crops, including grains, fruits, vegetables, and fodder, but have been hit by operational difficulties due to drought. This phase, which has 580 beneficiaries, will help alleviate the burden on farm owners and support sustainable agricultural production. The first phase of the project has contributed to fulfilling the needs of the beneficiaries to find clean water, achieving water security, and enhancing rural resilience. Also, the first phase has effectively helped provide safe access to clean water, reduce the suffering of people who face difficulty in securing water, and save the cost of fuel as well as operational and economic expenses for the beneficiaries. Moreover, the first phase played a role in making a qualitative leap on raising the operational efficiency of drinking water systems and improving the quality of life.
Here is a reminder of the main headlines. Hans Gromberg lands in Aden after visiting Sana'a, and Tim Vanderking heads to Riyadh and Muscat to push for new peace in Yemen. On World Press Freedom Day, Yemeni journalists continue to face grave human rights violations, especially in Houthi-run areas. Youth Initiative in Aden cleans the beaches of the interim capital from waste after the Eid holiday. This is the end of the news. It was Roshan Fouad. See you soon.